Hey guys, Patterns in Paradise welcomes you, philosophical travelers, old and new. We have yet another podcast,
packed with contrast, meandering through wacky roads of mind, combining curious tangents intertwined. I'm Reggie.
And I am Monk. Enjoy!
More gifted than others, it's the plain truth. I myself, Monk, I'm 5'5". I will never play professional NBA basketball.
No.
Some people might say, "Oh, you have limit." Alright, let me adjust my.
5'6".
Alright, may I adjust my statement and say I will never be as good as Michael Jordan. Any person who says don't have limiting beliefs, now they can fuck off. 5'6".
I'll give you that. He was pretty good.
So to an extent, there's some genetic limits that we are gifted with that we're kind of fighting an uphill battle if we do want to try and succeed in that regard. The person who's not naturally just doesn't give a shit about medicine, forcing that person to go into a doctor's career and then ask them to find out some profound discovery over 20, 30, 40 years of discovery. They have to have a real why, a reason why they are pulled into that field. That is what's going to encourage them to study, work long hours, be open-minded and interested. And this is why we say earlier about, in Patterns of Paradise, we believe each and every person on earth in their life has their own awakenings as such. We're not talking some spiritual, some weird shit. When we talk about awakenings, we're talking about understandings regarding relationships, finance, regarding, let's say, a book that you read 10 years back that you only really click and understand now. Or something that somebody told you 20 years ago, which now suddenly has value in your life.
That's your phone, George. It's coming from you.
You're fucking joking.
Well done.
Fuck. Hello! So that was Monk's phone going off without having a fucking clue of what was going on. Oh god, it was nice. I thought it was someone's phone. I got rather annoyed there.
Yeah.
Clown moment.
Clown of you, Monk.
Lovely. But end of the day, guys, we do not know the limits of human potential. Especially nowadays with access to all kinds of technology where any information can be achieved instantly. The world is an open marketplace. If someone has a passion and a desire for selling, could be packaged biscuits, right? Suddenly you can find online 3.5 billion people with access to the internet who could potentially purchase that product. Well, once upon a time, if I had a shop, I would rely on yourself, Sean, and yourself, Reggie, walking past, and relying on you guys.
A town of 50 people.
Town of 50 people, a little corner store, that kind of thing. Yeah. Now suddenly, even then, billboards, you don't rely on those anymore. Send a Facebook ad out for $5 a day, and you can have 2,000 people potentially being made impressions on with your advert. So long as I believe in my heart of hearts, if a person is passionate in what they do, they're going to be encouraged to work on their passion.
So and not only by themselves, but others around them that see that passion, because
100%,
especially that's the greatest thing I like about not sharing, but giving someone the insight of your not plans, but your potential goals. So what you could achieve. Now, sharing that information, some people may think that giving someone that sort of knowledge is going to restrict you from actually accomplishing it. I believe it actually is going to surpass that and give you enough positive feedback that you can actually do it.
Especially if it's coming from a group that is supporting you in what you're doing.
Precisely.
I.e., as they say, surround yourself with healthy people, right?
And the reason why it becomes encouraging is because they can see your enjoyment and excitement for that idea. Now, if they see that you throw an idea out there and you don't pursue it, or you don't show any sort of care or interest about it, they're going to take it and they will find a way of doing something, or they'll share it with someone else, and then that person will probably do something. And that's where obviously not sharing your ideas, but giving someone that insight it needs to be carefully sort of undermined and checked, because if you're sharing an idea that you're not 100% sure you will accomplish that, it could be used against you.
True that, and then you look like you're not supporting your promises, you're not being consistent, and a million other things in it now.
Yeah.
I mean, that again comes down to the whole universal saying of how much is too much when it comes down to telling people things, right? I mean, one of the most beautiful quotes. I think you might have heard it actually. I think Sean, you're the kind of person to be keen on this kind of thing. John Gotti, one of the most famous mobster figures in New York in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I might be getting this wrong. Please do not butcher me if I get this wrong. But John Gotti, profound, very smart guy. Again, he did dodge the law, but nonetheless, we've got to appreciate a good mind. He said, I have friends who are no longer my friends, whose secrets never left my mouth. Right? That's powerful. That's powerful. It's knowing the right time to say something, the right time to not say something. And even then, Reggie, you bring up a huge point where it's down to if we tell people things that we cannot back up ourselves and we then fail at it, surely that then makes us look like complete blithering idiots.
Yeah.
And if we do that over time, over the course of 10 years, if we break 1,000 promises to ourselves and others, what does that do for our own subconscious mental programming that goes on every day? We begin to subconsciously form...
What happens to your motivation?
Your motivation. You begin to subconsciously form the identity as a person who doesn't finish the shit he starts. And then your motivation subsides and lacks because you lose the confidence and you begin to say, oh, but I'm the kind of person who would never finish my things. I can't get motivated. It's all practice. They say excellence is a habit, eh?
I'm going to throw in a little bit of a personal part there. And
go for it.
I felt like that before, where I had that feeling that I could never accomplish something because whenever I started it, I didn't get enough interest to finish it. However, since accomplishing a few good things that have happened since being in Cyprus, it's completely changed my point of view. For example, getting that promotion that I needed at work. I was working to that for so many years, continuously looking for that promotion, and it finally happened. I was like, there's a reason. I was pushing for it, and it was something I wanted. Therefore, if I really want it, I'm going to do it and I'm going to get it. It's not because I can't finish something. It's because I'm not motivated enough.
It's a deeper drive.
Exactly. It's
right?
Why am I doing this? And I had that opening. And I don't know if you guys have had something similar.
Yeah. Those moments in time where we find it almost effortless to work on a particular project because some part of ourselves, deeper than we can even consciously articulate, is screaming at us to pursue this project. Yourself, Sean, what have you found in your time dealing with people? What motivates people, aside from just the financial aspect, promotion, the money, the extra money? From working, I believe, a number of different workplaces, what have you noticed?
Let me think. I'm an old man on case. I've had I've had a lot of different jobs here and there. Honestly, I'll tell you, the older I get, when I was younger, right, probably your age, I always had this feeling like I was running out of time. I don't know why. I felt like if I don't make it now, I'll never make it. I don't know why I felt like this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys get that. I don't know. And then I got to say late 20s, and I was like, look, some people don't figure it out until they're 60. There is no rush. There's no rush.
What was that realization?
I don't know. Honestly, I feel like
There must have been something that happened, or someone said something to you,
just clicked
and
in my mind. Yeah.
it went. And
I
it
don't
was
know
like,
if-
oh shit.
Do you remember, bro, what year it was or what age you were?
I was
when
probably
some
around
deeper
26, 27.
click? Right. So the time in your life, 26, 27, the rest of the world was saying you should be settled by now, you should have that job, you should be rising.
You know
right,
the plan. You know, it's like 21, finish uni.
Nice.
25, you're married.
Boom.
By 30, you've got 2 kids.
2 kids, the house, the car, the mortgage, the pension,
By
and the
40,
future.
you're suicidal because you've already achieved everything. You know,
And there's nothing left in the world to achieve.
That's when you have your
and
midlife
you've been
crisis.
trying to make your parents happy for the last 20 years,
Exactly.
and suddenly you're stuck doing shit you hate.
Yeah.
Exactly, the system. Go on.
I do need to think, what is it that made me think? Exactly what made me change my mind.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, but honestly, like, there is no rush. Like, when the time is right, it will be right. You've just got to keep at it. And
That's it, dude.
that's what I think will happen.
End of the day, especially
Probably
among the younger generation, it just seems like a blatant lack of humility where, especially social media nowadays, given myself now, I'm studying internet marketing and whatnot, marketing and advertising, all online, specifically online. Social media has really caused, particularly the younger generation, to see, Lamborghinis and private jets and, just hustle hard and you'll be fine. 1 or 2 years of hard work and you're good. The majority of people don't have that kind of success, right? And so often we chase the money and then we realize, shit, that's not it either, right? Okay, it's the deeper life experiences. It's traveling the world. It's developing a deeper connection to those around us, all the rest of it, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And it's again, we're asking ourselves, why do we believe what we believe? And why do we have the goals that we have? Are they our own goals, or were they set by those who came before us? Parents, friends, family, teachers, stuff maybe a teacher told us. A perfect example being, I was speaking with a very good friend of mine, Nigerian fellow, comes from northern Nigeria. Abdul, call out to Abdul, wonderful lad.
Yes, Abdul.
So Abdul was mentioning how there's a particular tribe in Nigeria where the firstborn child is never ever spoken to by the mother, not even given attention. And if you were to ask them the reason why they do it, they'd say it's customs and traditions, but they don't have either a scientific or a psychological or some deeper critical analyzed reason. It's kind of like because our forefathers did this.
How it's always been.
It's how it's always been, we do it. And this leads to all kinds of trauma from the firstborn child, because imagine not being given any attention by your mom. That would be some serious psychological damage to anyone. It just goes to show we humans, as much as we are all living, breathing, if I cut you, you bleed, you cut me, I bleed. No matter what, our life experiences determine everything else, the future. It's again the paths we've led. One small thing could have happened at 21 that alters our lives completely. A near car crash that was avoided. Oh, look at that drunk driver. Oh, I'm glad I'm still alive. Or alternatively, someone could end up in a wheelchair with paralysis, And going a bit dark and dingy here, but just the human experience. 7.5 billion people around the world, each of us seeing the world in a different way. It's scary. It's scary.
It's crazy to think how much every single person has gone through.
If you could combine that as one cumulative human experience,
ridiculous amount of
different languages, different cultures, cities, the smells, the sights, the sounds. The tastes.
Just between us in this room, we have an insane amount of different experiences we've all had through our lives. All been in different parts of the world. Yeah, and yet we're all together.
I have a scarier question to pose it to you. Imagine this now, all of the people, if we could somehow map out neurologically all of the influences of all of the different sources of all of our beliefs and expectations. For example, the 10,000 people that you've had an interaction with in your life, Scott, the 7,000 people you've had an interaction with in your life, myself, maybe the 6,000, 7,000 people I've had interaction with in my life. Can you imagine seeing all the way from your aunties and uncles through to some stranger you met at a bus stop, through to some documentary you heard where there was some gentleman speaking on a podcast, and how each and every, if you could map out where you took in each and one of those experiences, how varied and how far we have come, right? We've in some way, shape or form,
yes, quite a journey.
Heard some info that came from some lad in China, or some piece of information that was discovered from Brazil, or maybe a topic of conversation of something some African president said. And if we look at it, how interconnected the entire world is, and how chances are if we listed out all those people we've ever met, we probably met several of the same people, at some point in time, somewhere, somehow, or maybe someone we met had a mutual friend, one of our other friends. And especially nowadays that the world is so interconnected, until Corona stopped air travel, you can get anywhere in the course of 24 hours.
I think maybe not the people exactly, but the person. There'll be similar personalities. Like you might not have met Dave, but you'll know Dave. You'll know our Dave. Do you know what I mean?
True.
I don't know how to say it.
I mean, the amount of people that we've met that have similar personality types or traits. Buffalo. Don't finish it off.
Reggie's quick tonight.
I'm an eagle. I can see everything.
Eagle Reggie.
You don't have to finish it. It's a new drink. That's right.
The night is still young.
But no, I mean, the amount of people we've all met that have similar personalities, have the same name, or have different alternative lives that have either mingled or had similarities with, that we've probably experienced or had chats with, but we don't realize that it might even be the same person. And who knows, maybe in some time later on in life, you might meet that same person and be like, oh, this is the guy that he's talking about.
Right.
Exactly.
Did you ever see those fun little, those fun little videos on YouTube which say this guy was caught in a photo with his future wife, and it turns out that they're taking a photo and they were in the same photo frame 15 years ago, and they somehow met underneath the same bridge. It was funny, again, how many similarities we have with those around us. And you were mentioning earlier, Sean, about how we all know someone called Dave, right? Unless you go really exotic with names. And my son is called Xylunx or XA12. As
It's the personality, isn't it? The name.
How we can all
change.
see, like a person. You look like a Dave. You look like a Jeffrey. You look like a Stephen. You look like a Sam, etc., etc. And
I think we found the alter ego nickname for sure.
What?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
I like Jeffrey. I don't know why.
Jeff or Jeffrey?
Jeff.
That's an old man's name.
My name's Jeff. Grandpa of the podcast.
I don't know, was that a Whippets or not? Like, I saw your left pinky.
Oh, shit.
No,
it was
you're
there.
forgiven, it was there.
Yeah.
It was one of those DRS.
Yeah, as an Englishman, normally I drink, like this.
Of course.
It's against my nature.
Against your nature.
Benefit of the doubt. TMO couldn't see quite.
I'll ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
Say, for whatever reason, your whole apartment, house is on fire. You can save one or two items. What would it be? What would they be? I'll give you two. You can take two things, one in each hand. What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Phone and grandmother's ring.
Fair enough. Phone you can replace, the ring you can't.
Yeah. I mean,
I
the
guess
ring,
photos on the phone you can't.
the amount of stuff I've got stored on there in terms of work, the podcast, for example.
That's smart though. I
It's
mean,
a stop
purely
back.
life standards. I mean, even if everything else gets buggered, you can still make money on your phone. Yeah, it's tough and whatnot, but ideally, if you could grab in one hand the phone and then wrap the power cord under your little finger, maybe if you had time. That and
Maybe you can find a charger anywhere in the world.
Oh, yeah,
true. Beg, borrow, steal, murder beats.
Exactly. There's many ways you can get that charger.
house.
Precisely.
Next month you will.
But-
This is. Let's say my flat right now were to go up in flames.
2 items you can take.
Maybe.
So let's say out of nowhere there was some tragedy, a train crashed into my house.
All your
There was
possessions.
an oil spill, train caught fire, conductor caught fire, my house caught fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you can say two things.
So that's obviously cell phone and charger we can sort
Really?
out along the way. Reason being, talking to the internet marketer here, right? So I can survive with this. This is my paycheck.
You're not going to die. Nothing bad will happen to you.
Of course
Just
not, but as
all
a
the
long
things
term, that
Yes.
and my file with all my documents as to why I'm in Cyprus. If it had to be two things,
You've got
with a
very
file-
practical there.
with a file with the police acceptance that I'm in Cyprus, the
Yeah,
fact that I don't need to do
that's-
military just yet,
Yeah.
my ID name, ID passport number. In fact, I'm gonna use because I'm pretty good with my balance. I'll kick my shoes off if my feet aren't burning to hell, and with my toes, I'm gonna grab my satchel with my passport and my other shit inside.
No, that's gone, mate. That's gone.
Damn it. Okay, it's gone.
That's burnt. That's inflamed.
So then I'm stuck in Cyprus. So do I choose my file with the one batch of documents inside, or do I pick my fanny pack with the other bunch of documents inside? Oh my god. Can you just give me a time limit for fuck's sake?
We're talking, you're in bed, you wake up in the middle of the night, smoke
It's a
you got
burning.
two things, you get out.
You see your foot's on fire, train conductor hanging out the window, train's just smashed into my house, and I'm like, please, darling, help me. Okay, so I'm limping out the flat.
Okay, whilst Monk ponders on this, I want Sean's answer. Sorry, Jeff's answer.
Go for it, Jeff.
First thing that comes to my mind, when I was like 10 years, I am creatively challenged, okay? These hands were not designed to make anything. I made a dinosaur when I was about 10.
Okay.
I gave it to my mom. And for some reason she kept it. The only thing I ever made.
So
that was
mother's
worth
love,
keeping.
motherfucker,
Yeah.
really?
I love that little thing. It looks terrible, but I made it, you know?
I made a cat with flippant hypnosis eyes when I was 6, and my art teacher gave me an F. Since then, I've always been telling myself, I'm creatively challenged, bruh. Until I came to Cyprus and I had someone teach me that actually I have some base level of ability to freestyle and beatbox. So we all have some creative talent, even if with the hands.
In different areas, right?
Different areas, bravo,
Yeah.
right there. Even if we're a complete dinosaur in some of that. There's something else, even if it's poetry, even if it's, look at me, I made pottery, mum. It looks like something fun. So go for it, Jeff. What would your...
So the dinosaur, I saved that one. Never leave the dino behind. What else? I'm trying to think. You know, because my granddad passed away now, he left me his golf clubs. I would probably take them. That's the only thing I have left that were his.
Right.
Not very practical to escape from a burning building with, but
No.
those
If
are-
you needed to break the window to jump out, and also you can land on the golf bag to save your fall.
Exactly, and fight off intruders.
True.
Whatever.
Intruders for it. When you're in this ramshackle remains of your house, busy putting out the flames with the golf club, and some other vagabond comes in. Can you send me some drugs, bro? You're like, get out of here, heathen! This was the house of my father. It's
You know,
like,
a phone or documents.
True.
Never even. I wouldn't even. I wonder. You know, I have an iPhone, right? Don't want to brag. It has iCloud. Everything I have is in the cloud. So, but
That's fair
documents. I
enough.
mean, they're just documents. Get new ones. Some things you can't replace. You know.
No, definitely.
That's how I feel, maybe.
Well, passwords and everything like that, it can be replaced.
I mean, obviously, it's not easy.
It's not, but it can be done.
It's just a passport at the end of the day.
Exactly, but
Like grandma's ring.
exactly that I can't replace. Those are my grandmother's clubs, actually.
Grandmothers.
Yeah,
They're pretty
but
nice.
I can use them, and they actually send the ball quite far.
just
At the end of the day,
Are they full sized?
yeah, they are. They're full sized. And at the end of the day, you can't blame a workman's tools on the job, can you?
You can
As long
try.
as you can get it done. Yeah, you
What
can
is
definitely.
it? A bad workman blames his tools. I
Exactly.
forget.
That I can't remember the exact saying, but it's something along those lines. But the reason why I would save my phone is because of the amount of stuff that I don't have backed up.
Fair enough.
If I had the chance to back it up, definitely I wouldn't think about that. I would choose something else.
You know, I bought the other day, before COVID, Kodak
Yeah.
disposable camera.
Oh yes,
So I was like, you know what? I'm tired of going somewhere.
like a Polaroid kind of camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And well, the ones you have to get developed, you know, you can't
Yeah.
even see it. You get 20. I think you get
You have a
24
roll of 20,
photos,
yeah.
something like that. So I was like, I'm tired of going somewhere, and I take 9,000 photos. They're all the same. I never look at them again. I was like, I like.
That you actually value what you're taking a picture
And
of.
it's like, even if it's a terrible photo, it doesn't matter because it's a nice
more
moment.
valued.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do that in the future.
I wanna get one of those proper Polaroid cameras where they can also print them instantly as well,
Oh, they're really cool.
and you can create like a collage and whatnot. I want to do that when I'm actually traveling and going around the world and everything.
It's nice to hang that.
So when we are traveling,
Because it's not just
Correction.
something, you know, that's like in your photo gallery. You can actually
no,
see it.
it's a physical photo, and I think that's a lot more sort of valuable rather than a photo that you've got on a phone that you can print out. You can print out everything that you've got on the phone.
Well,
but
it's not the same.
It won't have that same value that you've got with something that you've taken that needs to be developed. It needs to be given that extra time, that extra value.
Gentlemen,
Sorry, Monk,
I'm
we're
going to let
talking-
you finish, but I'm just going to stop you and say,
Go on.
in my case, my pet blow up, simple as that. When I'm stuck on the streets with nothing to do, homeless with no money, wiping away my shame with whatever's left of my alcohol stash that I've managed to pick up from the ruined wreckage of my house, I will at least have my blow up doll to keep me company in the wreckage of some other chunk.
Your blow up door.
She's always been there for you, right?
Sorry?
She's always been there.
Oh, Cindy. My first.
I was going to say Felicia.
No, fellatio. Get it right, son.
Sorry.
Get it right.
Sorry, I know you've talked about her a lot.
And now we are joined by the Queen. Indeed, Queen, speak forth our wisdom. She is silent, for she surveys the scene at the dumb fuckery of the peasants.
The servants, peasants, same shit.
Yes, thou Queen. Don't shalt thou clean out thou stables of horse shit and other dirt and filth.
By all means, please.
He points to the cat's litter box. This guy. Oh my god.
Oh, I need to clean that tomorrow.
You have to do that on podcast, don't you? You can't just point at something. You have to
No,
say.
you have to
what
say
you
it exactly, yeah.
He's pointing at a litter box.
Rolling commentary.
Right,
there goes
it's
the
an
bottle opener.
apocalypse. It's
Right.
apocalypse. The fire has started.
Yeah, everything's going to
Thank
shit.
you for joining us on this episode. We shall be taking a quick break. Another quick.
Hello, welcome back. Patterns in Paradise. The long wait has come to a close. We are back with Reggie, Monk, and our special guest today, dear Sean. How are you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
I'm very good.
Always happy, you know? Life is great.
Keeping the one's head up, eh? It's the least we can
Of
do. in
course,
this
you
one.
gotta look on the bright side of life. I mean, look at the shit we're in right now in terms of the pandemic. It's a pretty
Yeah,
difficult situation to be in. I mean,
that hasn't changed much in 10 months. Maybe it's got worse, actually.
yeah, I would say in the last 10 months, it's definitely gotten worse in terms of cases, at least. It went from how many we were getting a day? I think like 20 to 30 was like the max. And supposedly the recorded amount within the last week was probably what, 800 per day, 900 per day, which is absolutely insane.
It seems freaky though.
When you think about the population of Cyprus, yeah, crazy numbers.
Exactly. By that calculations, we should have all had COVID by now.
I think the UK average for the last few weeks has been 2,000 a day. So, Cyprus is half of that. And look at the population difference.
At the same
Unbelievable.
time, fellas, if we look at it from the perspective of how many people have died given the new cases every day, and also match that with people's opinions of the COVID situation, it seems like, again, people are taking less and less of a care for COVID and going out and about. More cases are spreading. Maybe it's given the fact that Cyprus has, by and large, vaccinated most of its 80 to 60-year-old populations. That's a reduction in potential deaths from COVID. But it just seems weird the way there's now a complete opposite shift in public perceptions of it. Now that we vaccinated most of the elderly, people are saying, so what's the point of us staying indoors if there's a 1 in 200 chance of us biting a bullet?
Yeah, but I mean, also, have you not seen the results of the actual vaccine? People are actually getting the vaccine and suddenly getting sick or having more problems than before. Yeah, of course, you're going to need to have to introduce part of the virus to obviously allow the body to fight everything off and to create the right antibodies, etc. That
Right.
becomes a whole nother topic. But in terms of cases when you're actually getting tested, when you've got the vaccine, that is not detected with the tests. But I know someone who had the vaccine and they went to get tested because obviously they had symptoms in terms of obviously having a headache, cough, and everything like that, fever. And they actually came out as positive for COVID. And it wasn't just because of the vaccine that they had, it was that they actually had COVID. So the vaccine was not working
Right.
in this
Yeah.
case. And I personally don't think the vaccine that is being used as a majority, it's not actually doing as much help as it should. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't know. There's so much like misinformation, rumors out there. It's so difficult to understand what's really happening. You know, at this point, I don't even know what to say really.
That's the plain truth, Sean. At some point in time, all we can do is sometimes sit back and just watch the madness unfold around us. I mean, weird as it sounds, what do we know is true anymore? What do we actually know is true? That again, one may say, oh, subjective experience versus that which you can empirically test. But what do we know for sure that hasn't been told to us in a book or from someone on a screen or from someone over some audio, or maybe a friend told us based on something they heard, especially with the rise of social media nowadays? People could tell us, at least media outlets made to spread convincing news stories and facts and data. When I say facts, it's what is a fact nowadays? Who is actually going back and checking all of these different stats from all around the world? One side of the world here's this fact, one side of the world here's that fact. Next thing we know, there's vaccines that normally take 5 years to be properly produced and tested, and they're being produced in 8 months. And it sort of makes one think, yeah, I know technology is advancing, but at what point in time do we scratch our heads and say, what is going on? What is going on? Who's pulling the strings? It's a weird one, eh?
Yeah, but have you guys seen the movie Contagion?
No, I haven't watched it. I remember you mentioned it. I need to watch that.
You guys seriously need to watch that movie. Okay, at least watch it this weekend, because it will seriously open your eyes, because they speak of, in this movie, I won't give too much away, but it is a almost virtual reality to what we are experiencing today. And this was made in 2012. Just keep that in mind when you watch the movie. And that is the crazy thing. It's just, there's so many similarities that you'll genuinely sit there in shock.
Worrying, isn't it?
It is. Because if they're able to create a movie about such, and then all of a sudden 9 years later something actually becomes from a fiction to factual, it's just ridiculous. It's going from fiction to documentary. Sorry, it's ridiculous.
You know, the craziest thing for me about everything is how quickly, you know, when they introduced the SMS system to go out and about.
Yeah,
they literally overnight that was active, ready to go. That's not the sort of thing you can just create in 24 hours. Obviously, they planned for that. You know, and it just makes you wonder, next time this happens, or next time there's some kind of issue of any kind, what, you know, they can just bring it in just like that. Again.
Well, also, how easy has it been for everyone to be compliant? Because we're so, and I'll say this bluntly, we're so shit scared of what's going to happen if we don't comply.
Well, yeah, I mean, no one wants to pay €500 fine, you know, or whatever.
One for not wearing a mask, one for breaking curfew, and one for not social distancing. particularly
Or
students.
you
even just
reckon-
going to, even just like, now we have one text. So say you go shopping in the morning for food, that's you done for the day. It's, I don't know.
And what you're going to do, take another cell phone with? Yeah, of course, people do. Question is now, what happens? Someone stops you and says, "Hi, sir, we see there's 2 different signals coming off your person. Do you mind stepping this way for us so we can freaking frisk you?" "Oh, I'm a free citizen." "Ah, are you? Okay, no problem. Come with us to the station. Let's have a deeper conversation." Hey. Governmental
But I mean,
authorities take power one step at a time, fellas, one little inch at a time. The same thing happened in Zimbabwe. The same thing happened with the communists in Russia with the Bolsheviks. Same thing the Nazis did on the rise from the 1920s through to 1939. The same patterns, guys. We see this again and again and again. It's little steps, little by little, like a termite biting a little bit out of the wall at a time until a couple of years later, the whole wall falls and you say, "What happened?" It's just happening.
no, exactly. I mean, one question I would like to ask you both is, during these 10 months, what has been, let's say, the biggest change from where we were to now? Personality type wise, or life in general. Maybe you got a car, maybe you're renting a new place, or maybe I don't know, you passed a new part of uni, or you got a new job.
Trying to think. So what, 10 months, what was that, May, June? So July last year. I mean, wow. Sorry,
Were
guys,
you
my
working at
dog's
Sykes?
going. What's that, sorry?
Were you not working at Sykes in June, July?
No, I'd already left. I quit that after about 6
No,
weeks.
you were at Forex at that point.
Yeah. I'd left the customer service behind forever. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, quite a lot's changed. New job, new apartment.
You got a dog?
Yeah, dog. Bloody hell. Went to Italy. When you think about it, I've been quite busy, I guess.
Yeah, I would say your 10 months has been very productive, at least. George, what about you?
Two things. Firstly, my dear Scott Reggie, as you mentioned before, how quickly the average person began to comply and go along with regulations, with new norms, with social distancing and whatnot, and how in simply the course of a couple of months, societal and cultural changes can happen like this. Suddenly nightclubs like Ayanapa now, with all respect, good luck to Ayanapa. Everything Ayanapa was all about was the clubs, the parties, the packed people, that vibe, the connection, the drinking, partying and whatnot. That bye-bye Ayanapa. Other tourist spots around the island, nightclubs, restaurants, bars, tavernas, all now with social distancing. Again, people are, hey, wear mask when you come inside. People are now getting used to every time you walk in the building, put the sanitizer on your hands. Little changes in daily habit that we have now formed that once upon a time seemed strange and now seem like common day practice. And as was mentioned before, what other measures then get implemented over time once the populace gets used to this amount of, by this amount, I'm pointing to the air like a weirdo, a certain amount of mandatory action. What then happens when the next little bit is introduced and the next little bit? The second thing I have to say is the realization that there seems to be, and again, this is a vast generalization, but there seems to be 3 camps. three camps of people. Those people who have reacted to this in a very nihilistic way, who have looked at this saying, you know what, I'm done. My God, I can't get another job. I'm so unstable. How am I going to fend for my family? Very defense orientated, very fight or flight orientated from a physiological standpoint. A lot of additional cortisol running through their systems. They're stressed. Their families are stressed. A group in the middle now who are sort of sitting there saying, oh, COVID changes nothing. The world was going to hell anyways. And a third group of people who look at it and say, this could be the greatest opportunity of my life. A challenge that I need to light a fire under my arse to get myself and my family out of a dodgy situation, to take time to go indoors and socialize less and work on myself and get stuff together. And it's been fascinating to see the divides in social mentality and political mentality, particularly again in America, how publicized it's been, the split between the left and the right and all the rest of it. Other countries around the world, especially in governance, if there was any weakness in there, this COVID has now drawn it wide open for the taking. So there's a lot of, in India, for example, shame, hospitals have been packed and full up, and government sort of sitting there saying, right, what's the next step? How do we go about bringing more beds and more supplies? And they're getting a bad rap for it. A lot of other countries are getting a bad rap for it. So it just seems perspective-wise, people are looking at the world in a very different way, just how fragile the whole system is.
That's also a beauty of life as well, I would say, there, Monk, is that everyone's able to have their own perspective of whatever's happening. And in some aspects, we should really be encouraging people to be viewing things in their own perspective, but also encouraging them to know the sort of the difference in terms of perspective of what is acceptable and what isn't. But then we come to the question, what is acceptable? What isn't? Societal norms have labeled already what we can and can't do. And again, obviously we've got rules and regulations from governments, but that's also another thing is, are those rules meant for breaking? In some instances, they might be. In some instances, they are not, because it will put you in a lot of trouble. But like you were saying, perspective comes down to everything. And I think as long as you have a good understanding of your own perspective and that you're able to use it in the best way for yourself, then go for it. Have your viewpoints, have your opinions on whatever it is, no matter if everyone or society in general thinks you're right or wrong. Keep that perspective, because what is going to make you happier in the end of the day, at the end of the day, is whatever it is that you truly believe in your heart and soul. It's up to you on what you want to believe. It's like if you believe the sky is green, you believe it's green. Don't let people tell you it's different, because if that's what you want to believe and that's what you want for it to be, then go with it. So be it. Enjoy your life as the sky is green. But that's where we sort of have to also create an understanding for others' perspectives and opinions, because everyone is seeing something in a very different light. Very different.
At what point in time do we begin to ask the question of, to what extent can each and every opinion hold the same weight? What I mean by that is, understandably, for example, someone who's colorblind, they may see, I'm just using colorblind as an example, they may see, again, the sky in a different way. They're going to perceive fruits in a different way, a red light in a different way. We've all seen the videos on YouTube where someone gets a pair of these high-tech glasses that turn color into, well, that help colorblind people see color. And these guys break down into tears. Or these this headset which helps blind people to see for the first time ever. actually
Yeah, I've seen that.
oh
That's
my
crazy.
god, yeah, Sean, bypassing the actual the actual eye stem, going straight to the visual center in the brain, and they're in tears seeing a wife for the first time. So again, at the same time, we can say let's learn from each and every person's perspective to ask the question, why does this person see the world in this way? Why do they perceive the world in this way? But at the same time, also question it and say, what is the burden of having people justifying their opinion? Because I could very well say, the world is flat. And we could say, oh, he's perfectly justified to that opinion. But if I enter politics, if I then start trying to run a country or create larger wide scale change, or say climate change is false, to what extent am I then required to justify my perspective uh, when it comes down to a situation of free will? Like, it's all good, he believes what he believes as long as he doesn't hurt other people. At what point do we then start telling people, listen, you got to actually critically analyze your perspective and justify it, like debate it, logic your way around it? Why do you believe what you believe? What's the proof behind it?
To answer that, George, Monk, sorry, I would say in order for us to justify ourselves for the perspectives we actually have and the opinions we have, it would come under your influence and power with the general populace in terms of either running for presidency, general elections, whether you're just even a social media influencer, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. It is countless amounts of platforms where you can influence the world right now. So if you have the power to influence a very large amount of people, that is then power to you. You have power. And in that instance is when I believe you should justify your opinions and perspectives, because then you are then the sole reason for someone maybe believing in you or taking your perspective. What are they going to follow if you don't give them a reason for it? They can't. They're just going
Look
to
at
say,
Trump.
because he is. Exactly.
I mean, look at the nightmare of his presidency and Twitter, who've permanently banned him. I think Facebook are deciding today, aren't they, what they want to do about his account, if they're going to make it permanent, his suspension or not.
They should suspend him for life.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, he's such a polarizing guy. Millions of people love what he has to say. Tens of millions of people.
Yeah. But is it right what he says?
I mean, it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? I personally think he talks a lot of bollocks, but 80
I would agree with you there,
Americans would disagree. They absolutely love him.
Exactly. Look, at the end of the day, we have our perspectives. Our perspectives don't matter at the moment. And I say at the moment because we still have a long way ahead of us. Even you, like, I know you say you're old, Sean, but you're really not. I still believe we've still got at least another 80 years within our lives. And if you don't think so, Sean, brackets Jeff, then I believe at least another 75. Like, I truly believe our generation is going to live past 100, maybe even getting to 110. Because even now we're seeing the average person actually passing the age of 100 at a higher rate than it used to. And we are becoming a healthier species in terms of being able to ensure we are exercising, ensure we're actually eating correctly, making sure our minds are continuously working. We're not sitting around doing nothing. Obviously, there is a large population of people who still do this. But I would consider myself, yourself, Monk, as well, and you, Jeff, as individuals who will be looking to continue to keep that health through your mind, body, and soul, where you'll keep yourself young at heart, you'll keep your body active, and you'll keep your mind fresh. And with that mindset and with that physical aspect you will have, you'll be able to continue going until over 100. And if that's the case, then you're not even a third of the way of your life through.
Crazy,
You're
isn't
barely
it?
at a third.
You know what? I think, like people generally try or tend to retire, late 60s, unless, well, for an average person, late 60s, early 70s, if you do well, maybe a bit earlier. And just think you could live for 40 more years after that.
Exactly.
It's just, either people are going to have to work longer. I don't know. You just wonder, how are things going to change in the next 50 years or so? You're going to have 95-year-old, barmen, and I don't know.
Coolest barman in history, telling you war stories from World War II, stuff he did in Korea. You'll be 65 in a bar with some dude who said, I remember the hippie revolution in the 60s, talking about the crazy wacky shit he did in the 60s, and it's now 2050, and there's this 120-year-old barman in front of you, coolest barman in history. Yeah, his bones gave out a while back, but he can still shine a glass.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I honestly can't even fathom the idea of where we will be in the next 50 to 60 years. Because at that point, we're all going to be 80 plus. And by that point, we will be looking towards the, not end, but closer to the end of our lives. But again, we shouldn't be looking as an ending. We should be looking at the ending being a lot further than that. But also, again, we shouldn't be thinking of, and this is my own perspective again, right now, which is not of a great value. And so obviously we get a much bigger voice, which will happen. And my perspective is that numbers, at the end of the day, are what we should not be using as a perspective of the limitations we actually have. The limitations is what you actually set yourself. If you put yourself at the limit that I'm not going to get to 100, of course you're not going to live past that. If you do, that would be lucky because you've already set your limitation. I'm going to die at 80. Well, yeah, of course you will die either at 80 or younger. If you live past that, you're lucky. You should be considered lucky because you've set that limitation, which means you're going to try and achieve all of your targets and you're going to try and finish everything so that you are ready to go at 80. For me, I don't even want to go at 100. I want to go way past that. I want to honestly.
You need to start drinking decaf tea and stuff like
definitely.
that. Start soon.
100%. Green tea all the way. Matcha.
Reg, let's just clarify something quickly. In terms of what you've said regarding age and limitations, and again, we get to keep our limitations, as says Jim Quick, the author of Limitless, right?
Yeah.
Head brain coach and advisor to some of the greatest CEOs currently, inventors and scientists around the world in how to train your brain. You get to keep your limitations. Whatever you say your limitations are, you get to keep them. In the same way, now, here on Patterns in Paradise, we understand we're all about trying to break down day-to-day occurrences, everything we say, everything we believe, the stuff we see in society, and trying to get to the deeper wisdom behind it.
100%.
That's not the only limitation, Reggie, that came up in your last paragraph of speech there. My perspective, I may be butchering what you said, but doesn't mean a whole lot. I would tend to differ on that, Reg. The fact is, at a time like this, we don't know who we could be influencing. Yeah, some people may say, oh, this is the first official podcast. They've done a podcast. Let's wait till they do another 10 before we take them seriously. No problem. But who?
Oh, no, I completely agree with that.
Who might listen? And the second we discount our own perspectives, at the same time, we've got to be humble with it and say, look, we have a long way to go. Again, the following is still in its infancy, but at least we know why we want to strive forth and help out the world and do something good in our years here on earth. So I would say at a time like this, our perspective is more important than ever. Sean, your perspective is more important than ever, possibly even more important than once we get, dare we say, 100 million followers. Why do I say that? Can you answer me? Why is our perspective now more important than when we have 100 million followers?
That's
a
a big question. Maybe because most of the people who are going to be listening are people who know you or know something about you. So maybe you would have more of an impact in their lives than someone who, just a follower who doesn't know you. I don't really know, actually.
Well, you're
That's
onto something there. Look, you're onto something there. Reggie, what's your thought there?
It's a like Sean Jeff had mentioned. It's very difficult to actually whittle down an exact answer as to why. But for me, the reason why we could potentially influence and affect someone's, let's say, choices more now than later is simply that it's right at the beginning. It's something very fresh, something new, something completely unique. No one knows us at the same time as whoever's listening, they do know us. But who knows who's going to play the podcast for someone else? Are you going to be playing it whilst you're around people? Are you going to try and show it to someone straight after listening? Potentially. And if that's the case, then as soon as someone else hears that information, whatever that information may be, if that has that specific perspective, it could be a much, much bigger impact than even planned or intended. But I'm not discounting our opinion or perspective at all with my statement earlier. I was simply meaning that when we do get more followers and listeners, I believe we'll have a much bigger voice to carry over
right. So in terms of how much
larger area.
The perspective actually holds from a societal standpoint.
Exactly. That's what I was implying. Not the fact that we don't have an important voice. At the end of the day, everyone has an important voice. And it's up to you whether you want to take that advice or not. Everyone's perspective is valuable and invaluable at the same time. It's this continuum that we find ourselves in, which is a general sort of continuum for life. It's continuous. Do you want to believe what someone says, or do you solely trust what they say? Do you think they are telling you the sole truth, or do you believe they're just saying that to twist your thoughts of them? There's so many potential possibilities to why they could be saying this information. They could be completely false advertising themselves to you, or they could be showing you through and through. But again, are you going to be actually looking at that specific picture, or are you creating your own picture of this person? Now, perspective is something that is much, much deeper, and we're going to have to get into this in another podcast, because I think we can go for a massive conversation about
5-hour party coming right up.
Yeah, we can easily go into the physics of it all as well, in terms of the actual
special.
dynamics. Oh yeah, definitely. That has to be a Christmas special.
I don't know. Yeah, summer special.
Summer special might be better because people are going to have a lot more time on their hands, I think, with this pandemic.
Oh yeah, good point.
But yeah, no, like I was saying, it's like a seesaw at the end of the day. If you want to trust it to go down, you're going to go down. If you're going to want to trust it to go up, you'll push yourself up and the other person will go down. If you're going to be sitting on the bottom, you're not going to let the other person go down, then that seesaw is not going to move. And that's a good way to maybe keep it simple in your mind, is to think your perspective is going to be either accepted, declined. That's it. That's what it is at the end of the day. In terms of how you portray yourself, then that opens new doors and new perspectives again. But yeah, like I said, we can go into much more detail with this, and I think I would actually like to do a lot more research on it myself, so we can really get an awesome podcast done with a lot of detail. But already, I think we've got some amazing content to use for this subject, let's say. But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, go for it.
There's lots.
Sorry, Jeff.
No, there's lots. Jeff, there's lots to talk about for sure.
Fellas,
I feel like we should do. No, go on. Sorry, what were you going to say?
What were you thinking there, Shawnee? Dear Jeff, my lad, speak forth.
I feel like no, so it's been 10. We've had a 10-month pause. A long coffee break. Maybe we should. No, I'm joking. I was going to say maybe we should have another 10-month pause. See how the world has changed. But maybe what we could do, or 5th of May. It's the 5th of May. So 10 months from now, it will be the 5th of March next year, and see what's changed then. You can do a 10-monthly wrap up of what's going on.
That would be so cool to be able to say that every 10 months, come hell or high water, notwithstanding the fact that we could very well have you on even earlier than that, Shawnee. But that would be a brilliant thing to have as every 10 months or we have a podcast on the 5th of a certain month, which is the Sean podcast day, where we reserve the entire podcast purely for our boy Sean.
I'm in complete agreement.
I don't want to take it over.
I really believe that we should do something like that.
Fellas, last little caveat on perspective, which I think we could throw in there. It seems like, again, regarding perspective and the earlier comment about maybe our perspectives aren't as powerfully held within social opinion as of yet. In a deeper philosophical sense, our perspectives now would be more important than ever to get out there, just so that they can get critiqued. Because the sooner we get our thoughts out there, if we are truly wanting to improve ourselves, we're going to get them ripped apart by people who maybe have a different opinion or a dissenting opinion. And it really gets to put the sword to the flame, as they say, sooner rather than later, so that then we can harden ourselves up and sharpen ourselves up as soon as possible. So then take advantage of the next 5 to 10 years, instead of half an is it that we give ourselves some time, give yourself some time. And we end up taking too much time and wonder to ourselves, hey, what if I started earlier? Hey, what if I started at 23? What if I started at 16? I wish I knew what I knew at 10. So end of the day, we got to be the shining light for that 10-year-old out there, even though he may be 16 before he actually stumbles upon the podcast.
That's a very valid point there, Monk. And I think on that note, that will be a wonderful way to end this incredible podcast that we've had with our boy Sean brackets Jeff. That will be your podcast name from now.
Thanks for having me, guys. To continue.
It was awesome having you on, and I really do look forward to the next time we're going to have you on, whether it's going to be that 10-month recap or even something earlier with a really interesting topic, which would be wicked. But I would like to just thank everyone for listening, and please stay tuned. If you want to give us some comments or ideas on some aspects that you'd like us to maybe touch on, I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm sure you do as well, Monk.
This has been Monk, Reggie, and our boy Jeff. Coming on a 10-month break, waiting for the next 10 months. God bless, stay safe, strength and honor, and ask yourselves, what does paradise mean to you? What's your meaning in life? Take care.